You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy. Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Brian McCubbin.
Hello from the road, everyone.
Hey, welcome. And our drummer, David Hall.
Hey.
Greg Hectus. Hey. And Tony Groves.
Hey, fellas.
Well, welcome. Well, on today's show, we check out some new kings. We'll see if there's a new king of iRacing Oval iRating. Also, did we find a king of the iRacing Indy 500? There's a new king in NASCAR pit stops, and ask if it should be updated in iRacing. All that and some great hardware.
And remember, you can follow along with us on your PC or mobile device in real time as you listen to the show and see for yourself all these great topics and products we'll be discussing by visiting iRacersLounge.com and selecting show notes. So let's see you there.
Sim Coaches offers the realistic sim racing equipment you need to win races online. It is designed for real racers. Hydraulic construction makes them feel just like the real thing. High quality construction, 100% leak proof, and lifetime warranty are the key features with these pedals, and they look absolutely amazing. Check out simcoaches.com and use the coupon code iRacers Lounge to get 10% off your purchase. Simcoaches.com is your ticket to feel like you're actually sitting behind the wheel of a car. Drive harder and stay on the limit longer.
All right, let's take a try. Wow, that's a good start. I'm going to start over. All right, let's take a straw poll, guys. How many of us kind of really grew up mostly in the 90s?
Me.
Too old.
Teens or kids?
Too old.
My 20s.
That was my
Yeah.
heyday.
I mean, yeah, I was literally, the transition from the 80s to 90s. And when I really woke up in the music scene, it was right before grunge hit. So definitely the 90s kid. Well, that's what our first topic is going to be on. And Ben yesterday, he posted to Twitter that he's baffled that iRacing doesn't have the mid-90s stock cars on the service.
Well, we got the 87. That's pretty close, right?
Yeah, is it that much different than the 87s? It kind of is. And it's definitely not anything like the newer cars that are on the service, even going back to the Dakota cars and all those guys. So it's not really represented perfectly with any of the things that are out there now. And it was kind of a revolutionary era for NASCAR. There was a big boom in the 90s for NASCAR.
Which year was the T-Rex car?
It was late 90s, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so the late 90s is when they really started to turn them into the Twisted Sisters, right?
Well,
Twisted Sisters was 80s for sure.
I think that you almost need to talk about this not in years but in generation. So you got Gen 7, we had Gen 6, God bless it. Gen 5, I ran some Gen 5 over the weekend. I don't know really about the generations before that, 4, 3, 2, 1, but obviously the 87 car is one of those. Probably, I wouldn't know which one to call it.
Well, I really didn't start getting heavy into racing until later. And so, yeah, Greg just let us know it was 97. I didn't start racing I didn't start really getting into following racing until the 2000s. And at that point, they didn't look like production car at all, right? They were completely what we called the Twisted Sister at that point. I don't know if there's a generational line that led to that, but it all kind of started in the 90s when guys like Evernham started really figuring out how to mess with the templates.
I was kind of hoping after time Dale Jr. would have weighed in on this topic on the Twitter, because he's probably the one who's going to decide this. Which year is it? You would surely think that they're going to do it at some point. Because like we've documented before, I mean, they're going to run out of cars to scan pretty soon. You run out of, they start doing the regional stuff like the Brazilian and different things like that. But yeah, I mean, they're certainly going to do it at some point. But the question is what year will it be, and what will Dale pick? So I like the idea that KY_racing put up. He said a possible idea for the NASCAR Legend Series have four different eras to revolve around, so it actually feels like we're traveling through time at a rapid pace. Season one, 70s. Season two, 80s. Season three, 90s. Season four, the 2000s.
That's a really cool idea.
All right,
Doesn't that sound fun?
let's one up it even more. In week 13, they can actually change the track I don't know if they can change the car. Can they? Have they changed the car, or is it just the track that they can change every day during a week 13? It'd be neat if you could change the car
I think
and
either.
have all three have a rotation of the cars per week.
I was watching FS1 last night, and they had a show about the first night race, Winston, at Charlotte, and it was in the early '90s, and they did have some really classic cars, um, Adam Petty was almost won that. And Dale Earnhardt was in a wreck right on the last lap, and the cars were iconic looking. It was just really cool to see that era, and it didn't remind me of the '87s at all. It was far too different to make me think. Well, they're a lot like the '87s that we have right now.
90s is also when a lot of production cars got a more streamlined look, right? Whereas when I think 80s, I think of more of the boxy cars.
I used to slay that game.
Okay, let's take a different perspective on this and start talking a little bit e-NASCAR. How about you take this one, Brian?
Okay, yeah, this was an article, online article for kickingthetires.net, written by Seth Eggert. And we talked a little bit about this at last week's review of the Coke race, where they had the four drivers that were posted up, and they were actually racing live in person, from the Carolina Esports Hub. And this article goes into depth about his experience before the race, meeting the drivers, shaking hands, and talking to them, and the whole atmosphere around this special presentation of the Coke Series racing. So yeah, it was really interesting. It's it's something that esports can do that you can't do in real life racing, is sit there and constantly watch these drivers from a viewership perspective, from a fan perspective, as they're competing in races. Really interesting, and they do have these kind of public things for other esports tournaments, like the first person shooter tournaments and things like that. This is kind of like a scaled down version of that, where you can actually see these guys performing in real time as they're in their Coke Series races.
Yeah. I got to give a shout out to the author of this, Seth Eggert. When we do the Coke races with Evan, Seth is tweeting the whole time what's happening in the Coke race. And I'm using that as well as tweets from others like Justin Melillo to basically document what happens in the race so I can talk with it to Evan, about it later, 2 days later. So it saves me a lot of time. They give good, accurate, up-to-date information, and we, as listeners who enjoy that segment, we all need to thank Seth Eggert, because without him tweeting, this would be a lot harder job, and I probably wouldn't do it. So I do appreciate that, and I do need to call that out. But I do want to read one thing, one quote from the article here about what he saw. He says, quote, "The cheering and occasional jeers of the crowd gave the eNASCAR Coke iRacing Series Pro Battle an electric feel. Through the Though the crowd noise hyped the drivers up, it also served as a minor distraction through the peripheral of the curved monitors." But like Evan was saying before last week, it certainly brings a new element to it. If you're one of those drivers, I mean, you're stepping out of your comfort zone. You might be using hardware that's not yours, that kind of thing.
So, like high schools are hiring esports coaches now.
It's big business,
That's
I'm telling
crazy,
you.
yeah.
Now, even in our little town, our newest assistant football coach is also taking over as the first esports coach.
Wow, that's
You know,
amazing.
and if you're a esports coach at a high school, David, I mean, motorsports is pretty easy. It's pretty low hanging fruit, right? As far as getting a program off the ground.
Maybe, except for that equipment is going to be a lot more expensive than a Nintendo controller, right?
Yeah.
Nintendo.
I just seriously dated myself, didn't I?
Yeah, but you are kind of right, and we've had stories about colleges also building these arenas in their buildings for esport tournaments and stuff like that. Their even eNASCAR has the college series that's currently running, where colleges run against each other in iRacing, um, and they've even had on the administrative side of eNASCAR. They've been having guys run these eNASCAR teams to get them a version of the real life experience of being on the administrative side of the sport.
Right. One more thought on this column and Seth Eggert. I mean, not only does this Charlotte facility, provide a platform for these guys to race, and we have an audience, but we have media too. That, I mean, this guy is our media. I mean, for him to go there, to shake their hands, to look them in the eye, to get some sound bites, you know, gives us all kinds of good content, for him to share with his readers and listeners, uh, about, what's going on in the eNASCAR, scene, as it's called.
Here's a question for you guys. Okay, say you're in the final four of the championship for eNASCAR Coke Series. You're coming to the last race, and they invite all the final four to come on stage to race in front of a crowd. Is that something that you do, or is, do you not take the chance of getting outside of your comfort zone, um, in order to try to perform better? You know what I mean? What do you do if somebody says, "Hey, you're in the final four of the Coke Series. Pack up your stuff and come to Charlotte, and we're gonna have you four guys in front of a crowd." Are you going, or are you saying, "I'd rather stay home"?
I'd
Well, I
be
hope
si-
it's not a choice. I hope they just tell them, hey, we just sent you a ticket. We'll see you
yeah,
in a couple days.
but I'd be sending him the specs of everything on my rig.
Yeah,
I'm not going back to V3 pedals or anything non-hydraulic.
right, or something that you're not used to, for sure. You would almost have to ship their stuff to the place. Otherwise, I don't think they'd want to do it. I'd be really worried about doing that, especially if it's on different equipment. And then you're losing valuable practice time if it takes 4 days to get there and set up. That's
True.
4 days of practice you missed for the biggest race of your life, possibly.
Now, he does say in this article that Briar LaPrade did tear down his entire rig and bring it and rebuild it, everything. And he even streamed his normal Twitch just like normal. He did everything like he normally has with his own equipment.
And he wasn't even one of the top four of the guys who were there, really.
Pretty cool.
There is feel to the equipment, and you jump in another rig. You've done this, Brian. You're right. You've gone over to
Yeah.
Tyler's.
Oh yeah, I was terrible.
It's so much of it is muscle memory. Just like when we struggled at that 24-hour, I guess, a couple of summers ago when I first got the pedals. That wasn't last summer, was it? How long have I had my pedals? I think I've had them 2 years now. Um, what happened is it may have been last year. I digress. The Because the brakes got an air bubble in there, they just started the where it would resist changed, and I kept missing turns just because the muscle memory wasn't working anymore. So that feel is important.
I mean, the rigs they provided for the other three guys were decent rigs, for I definitely want to say that it had good equipment on it and all that.
I don't be
Yeah,
afraid. Why is it Timmy Hill that would stick with the G27 as long as he could?
and a laptop. Yeah,
It's well, particularly the G27. It's almost the same reason. He has the feel for it, and as soon as he jumps into another wheel, he's going to have to relearn all of his feel. Right? There's a ton of muscle memory in it, especially um, when you don't have the actual car to feel as well.
yeah. And another aspect of it, if they did something like this, um, you kind of miss those real intimate moments when a driver wins and his family comes in behind them and stuff like that. It's kind of a neat, intimate moment that you get to watch unfold. But at the same time, you're losing the uh, a cheering crowd and stuff like that. So there's trade offs either way. Um, it's an interesting concept that maybe they would consider doing at some point, is getting these guys in front of crowds.
You could you could do something a little bit hybrid and have your commentators host a crowd.
I always thought it'd be a neat idea to have, the final race for the NASCAR championship, maybe to be on the regular NASCAR championship weekend, like on the Saturday night, after the Xfinity race. They bring these guys out on a big stage in front of the crowd and they race in front of the crowd, but they're e-racing, and then they have them on the big screen or whatever. You know, uh, get them more involved in the whole NASCAR scene. Trying to tie those together even more.
All right, this next one we're going to hit. Going to throw over to you, Mike. We have an announcement, and I kind of gave y'all a heads up about this about a month ago. That the stint analyzer in the lounge now kind of have a little bit of a partnership.
Well, yeah, thanks to Ricky Thompson. He hit us up on the Discord to remind us that he has added a new version of the Stint Analyzer software, and the new version has a new ad for the iRacers Lounge podcast. So, many thanks to Ricky Thompson out there. The Stint Analyzer It's a little over my head, but David, you've had success with it.
Anytime I'm trying to decide what set I need or what the set's doing wrong, I usually just use that to compare tire temperatures. And in fact, I think Ricky probably contacted me just to make sure he had permission to use the logo. Um, and I've worked with him on some feature tweaks, particularly with the tire comparison, because I need the tires comparisons to be a little bit more vertical. And so he literally created a whole tab or screen report based on that recommendation. So it's a great partnership. It's a great app. If you're out there testing along with your telemetry, you want to use this because you don't want to know what your hot lap is. You want to know what the car is doing after 20 laps and 30 laps compared to your changes, because you can make a change and be like, ooh, that feels great, but then you're 15 laps in and you're actually further behind than you were on the set that didn't feel great on that first lap.
David, is that what you use when when you get like lap averages? Like you're always saying, don't worry about who's got the fastest lap in a test session. Who's got the fastest 5 lap average or 10 lap average? Is that the app you're using to get that information?
Yeah, and you really actually need to look at 20 or 30 because any of the guys can really run their tires off for 5 or 10 laps and lay down a good average. Stand Analyzer will show that, and so will Joe Real Timing. I have a Joe Real Timing page that's set up that just tracks their best 20 lap average when I'm in there, and I'll use that to see to easily rank it. Stint Analyzer is a little harder to see the ranking because it shows every one of the stints you've run. It doesn't just show your best stint. So you see every 30 lap average you've set, not just one. So sorting that is a little bit trickier.
And that's really good information to have because it gives you a lot more truer idea of where you stand in a test session or a practice session or a warm up session before a race starts.
Yeah, especially if you come in at a certain time and there's already been 30 cars on the track, it's rubbered in and you're not going to turn the same lap times that some of the guys that got in there early did anyway while the track was still fresh.
And not to mention, if it's an open race, you don't know who's practicing with a qualifying set or who's practicing with the race set too. So that could completely throw things off too.
There's not as much of a difference between race and qualifying sets anymore, but yeah, that's definitely the case.
Well, in the Cup Series, I imagine there's probably still a big difference in the trucks and all, where you can mess with tape and things like that, right?
Yep, this is true. So, one thing Stentalizer can't really help you with is whether or not you get into the pits. Tony.
Well, how about this? This is like a little bit of like oh crap and a little bit of cool. Um, it's a tweet from Adam Cabot. He posted a video on a Twitter where he missed the pit road entrance, and his Road to Pro race cost him a top 10 finish, which totally sucks. But he did make a pretty badass 6 wide pass in the grass on lap 44. I'm not sure if that's the lap you really want to try something like that, but hey, he made it stick and didn't wipe anybody out. So I guess it was a pretty good move.
Wow, 6 wide at Atlanta. I mean, it was nuts, and it was already 5 wide, and he has a head of steam, and there's no way he's letting up. So he puts it in the grass, and he goes around all of them. I mean, he's the guy. The guy who goes through the grass is the guy who beat the other five. Um, and so it's the true pass in the grass, but like you know, on steroids. With the whole 6 wide craziness.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was luck. Lady Luck was definitely on his side. I think 9 times out of 10 that don't work, and you're sideways and you're up taking the whole field out. But it does work. And we got video. We can see it.
Well, I guess for the people that are not oval racers, let me explain. There's 3 trucks on the track. and the track is only 3 lanes wide. It is not 4 lanes wide. So there's 3 on the track. There's 2 guys on the apron. Okay, so that's the 5. And so the 6, and then the apron's only 2 wide. And so there's literally nowhere for the guy to go but to the grass. But that's what he did.
I hope he sends that in for the top 10. That needs to go on there. And I'm guessing the missing the pit road was in a different part of the race.
Yeah, it had to have been. I couldn't find any video of that, but I guess there's nothing really to show. You missed the
But you
pits.
got to take it into context. This guy is in the Road to Pro. I don't know exactly where he is in the standings, but there's some desperation going on right now because the Road to Pro is wrapping up. And so if you're not in the, if you're not above the cut line, these guys are doing anything they can do.
So I'm assuming that I don't think Atlanta doesn't have that turf like Charlotte does, right? On the tri-oval or anywhere, because you know a lot of those times if you go in the grass like that with these cars, you'll just tear the splitter completely up.
Well,
Um,
these cars don't really have that splitter anymore. They've got them
the,
off
tr-
the ground now.
the trucks don't.
Oh yeah, yeah. I guess
The
you're right.
trucks, I think, do have the splitters. So
Yep.
yeah. So if that was in real life, though, I wonder if he would come away with a front end on it. It would have to been like a real dry day with no moisture in the grass or anything, where the cars start dipping and bopping into those ruts and stuff.
I'm definitely suffering from only drive the A car bias.
Yeah, that's toys now.
All right. So this guy, I don't know if it's the only thing he drives, but he drives it well. Robert Oberta, he's won his 4th straight Indy 500. He came from the 32nd spot this time and 6th overall. He's 6th overall at the Fame Track, according to the records. He's won 3 fixed and 3 open races, and it just seems to be his specialty.
That's impressive no matter what your I rating is. 4 straight Indy 500s, you know, when you got Tony Rochette just beating his head against the wall, um, trying to get another, so, well, congratulations to him, Robert Obrotha.
Yeah, he mentions in the post that it's split 8 of 27, which remember these splits are not done by iRating anyway, so that's based on qualifying time. And whether you do something, even if you were to do something like try to sandbag your queue time to get an easier split, you still have to have everything go right, because for every one person that might sandbag qual time, there's also another person, or there may just be somebody in there like me who can't qualify worth a damn.
Yeah, I ran my Indy 500. It was my first official race with the new wheel, and I made it to about lap 20 before I put it in the wall.
All
It
right,
was an
Mike,
embarrassment.
this next one, Indy or iRacing actually put out a little bit of a video clip from the Majors Indy 500. So that's a neat little partnership between a league and the iRacing service.
Yeah, quite a finish that happened in the majors, and this was the one that was broadcast. The one that their top event or whatever. They have a bunch of different ones, but quite a finish. Go 500 miles and get down to the end, and literally side by side. And I think it was the guy on the outside prevailed.
That was the guy on the inside did. They came
Oh,
together,
was it?
yeah, off the turn 4 and made contact, which was kind of odd. They had been racing so clean up to then, and it just looked like they both came to the middle, like the top car and the bottom car both came together and made contact. But man, how much would like ABC love to see a finish like this in the real Indy 500? To really try to get the ratings up and the buzz up for this race. It's always a really well watched and highly viewed race, but IndyCar needs a little jolt, and a finish that would be anywhere near as good as this would really help a lot.
The guy on the you're right. The guy on the outside, I mean, he just came down after he got out of the corner. Who knows why? I don't know why you would go
He
down like
came off
that.
loose. He came off loose. He was
Maybe.
trying to collect the car.
I see.
Yeah, you can
So
see
there's one
he
more
comes out
link.
sideways.
There's one more link here. We don't have a preview, but if you open it, you'll see Casey Kerwin, one of the NASCAR Coke racers, got his first Indy 500, and he had a great reaction on his Twitch stream. But he's got the microphone right up on his mouth while he races. I guess for the stream. But, he has a run, on that final lap and he gets up, side by side with him at least. But as they come to the checker, just barely ahead.
So we need to start a poll on the Discord, or basically come up with a list of the iRacing crown jewel races. I guess I was listening to one of our I was listening into the Apex, and they were talking the Triple Crown, and I was like, well, you kind of forgot a couple of really big oval races. So it'd be neat to come up with a whole list of the majors, which is kind of funny because we're talking about the majors league, but that's part of the idea they have. They run all the biggest races for every kind of type of racing you can come up with.
Well, it's easy on oval. I mean, you got the Indy 500, you got the Daytona 500, you got the Southern 500, which we don't have anymore this year, and then the Coke 600, which is coming up next week.
Yeah, and then on the road you got Monaco, you've got the Rolex, you got Le Mans, right?
Well, I would throw in Daytona 24,
Yeah, that's Rolex.
right? Well, congratulations to everyone who won in the Indy 500 fixed. Like I said, I was an embarrassment out there. I practiced even, but I don't know if I did 20 lap runs. I maybe did 15 or something, but I don't know. It was just one of those brain farts. You lose focus for just a moment and you're in the wall. These cars are going so fast and you just can't make mistakes.
All right. Well, if I was going to guess who was the heaviest drinker of all of us, I don't know. Why don't Tony? Why don't you tell us about iRacing Happy Hour?
Well, I don't know. I think you almost have to have a few to understand what the heck is going on here. We got
It's a pretty blocky text wall of text, isn't it?
yeah. We got Thursday, May 19th, which is today. Showcase a Mercedes AMG F1 performance alongside the dirt late models, and they will be broadcasting the 3 p.m. Eastern A-Class iRacing Grand Prix Sprint Series, and the 3:45 Eastern B-Class World of Outlaws Late Model Series broadcast will be done on the YouTube, Twitch, and the Facebook. So this has already all happened.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. They don't announce it ahead of time, really. I think it's just, hey, they decide to do it. They give a short window of time to know about it, and they do it. In this case, it was F1 and then World of Outlaw late model.
So do they do this like once a month, or?
They definitely doing it on off weeks of Coke racing. I noticed. I think, but it hasn't been every off week. So I don't know what the schedule is. I don't. There's not a schedule that I know of.
Yeah, that's so weird that they would just kind of toss it up there, like just in the middle of the day, like on a Thursday. Um, I think most people would be working at about that time.
I don't think it's. I would guess this is about Drew Adamson. Um, trying to test, trying to try new things,
Okay.
make things better for the Coke series and for the Porsche series and the other ones, and keeping his chops up maybe, or maybe, training other people to do what he's doing and that kind of thing. It's hard to say. Maybe it's an internal way of, you know, bringing people up.
Oh, that's fair. Never thought of it that way. But that would make a lot more sense. Um, for sure.
Yeah. Watch for that if you guys want to get broadcasted.
All right, it looks like we have a new league to present, Brian.
Yeah, this is the Outsider Racing League, and they're doing really nice, well broadcasted videos of the races. Um, I think they're on YouTube and I believe some others as well. But I know that our link is on their YouTube page, and yeah, they're they ran their 11th race this past week. It was at Nashville in the Cup cars, and it was the win went to a first time winner in their league, Casey Lacados, and yeah, it was it's a really well organized looking race, and the broadcasting team does a really good job. It's high quality broadcast. So it looks like a really solid league to check out. It's called the Outsider Racing League.
Now, there was some kind of event that happened during this race, Brian. That's why we're looking at this, but I don't see it. We must have lost the time mark or something. I forget it was some kind of wreck or something. I'm sorry, I can't find it at this moment. And I believe a listener sent this to me as well.
All right, the next thing we do have is Winton's introduction. That's one of the new tracks. It's now in the iRacing platform, and it impressed the Tickford Racing Ricky Thomas Randall. This is a very frequent track for testing, and they said it felt like almost second nature being on this track in iRacing.
This is one of the actual supercar guys over there that knows the track intimately, so to speak. And so, pretty cool to hear from him, and that he likes what he sees.
You know,
And
it's just another one of those examples of we've got the guys who do it for real saying it's pretty close.
yeah, a couple quotes he gave is, quote, "It's pretty cool that a track like Winton has been immortalized on iRacing," says Randall, who supplied a lap of his own to supercars.com. "I've done so much testing there, so cutting laps on the sim almost felt like second nature. So we have some really cool tracks in Australia, and Winton is no different. It's pretty unique."
Mike, this has to be one of your favorites, and I like the response to it. But how about this pit stop update? Do we think we need to make a change in the new car?
Well, that's a question that I posed on the Discord channel in the lounge to our listeners, and I said, "Hey, do we need to have pit stop times updated from our traditional 14 to 15 seconds? Because this year, with a single lug nut, times have been going down." And what reminded me of this was a tweet by Daniel Crete 4 that said Kyle Busch had a 8.9-second pit stop yesterday at Kansas, the fastest four tire pit stop in NASCAR history. So 8.9 is fast, that's a fast one. So that's pretty far off from 14 to 15 seconds, right?
It is. What's funny though, if we were to really incorporate it, is Ryan Carwall's response on the Discord. He said we probably also need to add tires randomly coming loose. And that opens a whole new can of worms of the question. I think we've talked about it before, but should we have random mechanical failures as a part of the simulation?
No. There's enough dumb little things that happen throughout a race. We can just chalk those up to mechanical errors.
Well, how about this? In the race last week at Kansas, there were teams who were being real aggressive with their setups, and it was tearing left front, left rear tires off the cars. They were just getting flats on a regular basis in the left rear. Um, is that something that's more realistic because it's not a random thing so much because you're being too aggressive on a setup and you're having tire failure because your setup's not right. um, that's not something really iRacing really models that well. You might have a tire that goes down faster, you lose more percentage on your tires than somebody else, but it never catastrophically fails for the most part like that.
Yeah, that would be a lot nicer to have it punish the guys who just abuse the tires more aggressively. That would be great. And like you said, that's not random. Having the random failures, I agree with Tony. There's you got net code that can count in that direction. All the stupid net codes that happen. Your computer crashes, iRacing
Yeah,
crashes.
Or
disconnects.
You get stuck in the pits because of a glitch. You get a false penalty because somebody blinks right behind you right before pit stops. All of those things have got that covered.
You
You
got the
lose.
cops knocking at your door because your rig's out in the driveway. Little throwback Thursday for you.
Yeah, you have
I remember
power
that.
failures, everything. There is a bit of a random type of breakdowns that can happen in iRacing, but it's not necessarily the actual what's happening on the track in your car. It's happening outside, but it's still random, and it'll still ruin a race for sure.
And I mean,
So,
there's some cases where the real cars don't really have to worry about the tire fall off either. This is a case where Goodyear brought one that would fall off enough that if they went too far with it, they got problems. And then people try to jump Goodyear's case. But anytime it's only a few cars, especially from the same team, that are losing their tires, that's not on Goodyear. That's on the teams. And um, we could say, well, NASCAR should mandate, basically protect the teams from themselves. No, let them tear their tires up. Let them tear their cars up. Let them play the risk versus reward game.
so I assume fuel takes the same amount of time, right?
Yep. So in this kind of a situation, is probably a stop where they don't need fuel, right? Or not
Well,
much.
right. If they needed a full 2 cans, they can't do that in 8.9 seconds. So that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was thinking it was tires only, or just a little bit of fuel they needed to finish. But still, it's pretty impressive how fast that was done. And but iRacing, I don't really would iRacing adjust for that in a pit stop? If you're telling your crew chief not to add fuel, you just want four tires. Will that still be a 14, 15-second stop?
That
That's
would
my
actually be
point. They need
the
to
best adjustment.
they
Right.
need to knock 4 or 5 seconds off of that to make it what it is today.
And fuel, yeah. They
But
probably go ahead,
only
Dave.
if you
Sorry.
don't take fuel. But if you
Right.
so that your fuel, when you stop for fuel, it'll be a longer stop, which will add a little bit more strategy into the situation, right? On when you get the fuel, when you don't. Can you take a little bit less fuel on one stop to get a track position advantage? Though most of the time in those situations, nobody's burned off that much fuel anyway. So a green flag stop is going to be a lot longer than say your average yellow flag stop if you only do half a run.
Right.
Yeah, it seems like iRacing probably has a time, like a time window for two pit stop, a two tire stop. So if you're getting two tires, it's going to be somewhere plus or minus for just some random variation. This amount of time. If it's a four tire stop, it's going to be 14 seconds plus or minus based on a small variant just for randomization. But it doesn't seem like they have that third fuel time that can affect the pit stop as well. It's
I,
either timed for two tires or timed for four tires, and that's it.
I don't think that's the case because if you pull in with 2 tires, but you have to take 12 gallons of fuel, it's going to be a longer two tire stop.
Okay, well then, yeah, that could be it. That'd be fun to do some
Mhm.
tests on that if you do like a four tire stop and no fuel, and then
And
come back around again just for fun and do a four tire stop with fuel for full fuel and see what the difference might be.
and there was a time in sports cars when the rules, I don't remember which one it was, the Europeans or the or American sports cars, when you could fuel and tire and change tires at the same time. And so how much fuel you were having to take could affect whether or not you might want to take tires or not. Now that they're a separate action, you basically always don't take tires unless you need the tires. Yeah, I do think that is actually a part of the consideration.
What about the sound of the pit stop? I mean, I haven't really paid attention. I mean, are we hearing 5 lug nuts, as they come around the car, and we should only be hearing 1? I mean, do they need to adjust that?
I've never thought about that.
Yeah, me neither. That's a good point. I'm gonna be listening
Uh,
for that now.
So the iRacing's got something to do. They got to cut 4 seconds off stops, tire stops, or 4 or 5 seconds probably. And then they need to maybe check the sound too.
well, Brian, do we have a new top I rating?
According to Denver Turgeson, um, there is. I haven't personally checked this yet, but he sent us in our Discord channel that James Curl has actually taken over Ty Majeski's spot in the overall I rating for oval races. So he's got the link on the page. So apparently it's a real thing. So we've always said that Ty Majeski's got the top I rating for oval racing, but there's a new leader in the clubhouse, James Curl.
Yeah, and it's only by about 5 I rating too that the difference is. But we don't know when this was posted, so that could be different by now.
I'm looking at it right now, and he's got him by 5 points. James Curl is at 10.776.
Oh.
He's actually led more laps than Ty.
Have you
Now
raced
I
with him, David?
Name doesn't ring a bell. I don't know if he runs much NIS.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
doesn't, not with that account, because NIS can, you can't maintain that kind of an I rating at NIS unless you're,
Too
I
many
mean,
wrecks.
well, Garrett is sitting at 9,000. Okay. And he
That's
runs
what
it.
I was thinking.
He double laps everybody.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
so
How close is Garrett in this? It's got to be up there, right?
Well, we don't have drop weeks yet, and he's run 2 less races than half the field and is leading the points.
so I asked Denver, what is this guy running to get an I rating like that? And he told me Legends, late models, and SK modifieds.
Whoa, that's different.
So James Curl, remember that name, guys. He's a legend out there. Alien. I looked at his stats when I actually pulled this up the other day on the computer. I clicked his name. Uh, it's pretty impressive. I mean, he's in his average finish is like top 3 or something. So
Now, is that a legitimate representation of his I rating if he's not racing, A series cars? He's not racing, cup cars and stuff that's in the top rating
Yeah.
classes.
you could say Ty Majeski wasn't either. I mean,
Okay.
all his was super late, and super lates and late models. That's how he built his I rating.
Makes you
It's
wonder if somebody who just strictly runs, top I rating, top license stuff can get an I rating that high.
Well, Garrett Maines is sure as hell trying.
Probably he'd be the closest one to it, right?
I mean, he's out there stealing I rating every day, from David and others.
probably though, even in top split, there's some stupid stuff that happens in an NIS race. Also, those other divisions that you mentioned, those other races, are not as long. So he probably put in a lot more of them. especially if you're doing something like Legends. Those are like 20-minute races.
Yeah, and if you're just winning one after the next, you can really pile it up quick.
And I think there's something to the fact of it's maybe the daytime, I'm signing up for a late model race or a SK modified. How many people are signing up for those? 10, 20? That's probably at the max. And then the people that are signing up for those, they're not all aliens, that's for sure. So he's probably easily beating them, the people that do sign up and like, farming basically. I don't want to diminish what he's done but to build it, like you said, just in those cars, that's one accomplishment. If you were to build it in a premium oval car like the A car, that's it's saying something different, I think.
It would also be interesting to see if he either took an alt account and made a and to see if he could pull off the same kind of success if he actually went road to pro and Coke if he was to go that route. But there's some people who enjoy and are more suited to those cars anyway. It's Adam loves the short tracks and he's not been doing them as much lately, and his I rating is showing for it with the luck he's added NIS. Whereas he could jump right back into the super late model and jump back up towards the 5,000s. All right, we got a couple of events. Only one showing up on the script, but I'm going to bring up the other one. We do have the Majors 24 Hours coming up soon. It's the replacement race for that other thing that shall not be named. Uh, it's June 4th and 5th, and a lot of the top splits, it's going to be interesting. You qualify in by time, kind of just like the Indy, and a lot of the top splits are going to have live cautions, and quite a few of the splits are going to be broadcasted as well. Then the other one, Mike, you're probably running it, so I'll throw it to you, is the open set for the race for the Indy 500.
Yeah, Indy 500 is this week. Gonna run it tomorrow night if everything goes well. I don't know that if our team has a set or we're working on one or what. I need to figure that out.
I can throw you
I
something.
the set that we ran and fixed, it was probably perfectly fine as far as I know. But can I get past lap 20? I'm sure they're gonna try. I was pretty embarrassed, like I said, of what happened, so I want to try again. So yeah, tomorrow night. Okay, that brings up podcast housekeeping. Leave us a review of your favorite pod on your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for more listeners to find this podcast. Please mention the podcast to your fellow drivers so they don't miss out. We do appreciate that. Thank you. We want to grow and grow and grow. Don't forget the Discord. We got a lot of stuff going on over there. We got some of our stories out of the Discord. We're taking polls over there. We want more people involved. So jump in, guys. We've been having fun. Of course, you can follow along on the website visually as you listen to the show. And we're in regular rotation at the Performance Motorsports Network.
How did fantasy go this week, Tony?
Well, check this out. We had two Tifosi showings actually, and they're battling for the top spot. Stephen Lou Allen and Tyler Williamson couldn't figure out who wanted to lead, so they both said, "All right, we'll just split this prize." But yeah, they they showed up at Kansas. They got the top spot. The rest of us, so no, Bobby Jonas, he managed a top 10, and Greg is back in 12th, so he's still able to hold on to his top spot for the league. But um, once again, that Kansas, uh, these races they're taking out big names. Like everybody's just having problems. The tire issue, we talked to death about that earlier, but that bit a lot of guys this week. Really threw it for a loop. And I think at one point when I was looking at the standings, there was some pretty low numbers like we had, I believe, um, last week. But when it all finished up, the numbers are up pretty high. Like paying note at 250 points is what they're battling for at the top spot. Um, Brian, you did not too terrible.
Yeah, not too bad for me. I was just off the first page. Um, so yeah, I was fairly happy with that. As long as I'm getting close to the top 15, I'm pretty happy for that week.
I'm about where I normally am,
Dead last.
Man,
but
you beat me to
wow,
the
up
punch.
front. Now I'm going to read off top five for Kansas. We had a tie for P1. Steve Lou Allen, Tyler was in tied with him for that. Chris Bates third, Trick Dickel fourth, AJL 14 fifth. I mean, boy, I mean, what a run for our teammates there to tie for the lead. That's impressive.
Yeah, that was definitely a good showing.
and and some pretty high point totals too for the week. I remember last week, I think the top point was like 210, 215, and these are guys were pushing 250 points for the week. So they really nailed their picks all the way around.
And so, Greg, they're closing in on you on your point lead. You
It's
got
actually
one
as
guy right
close as you can
behind you.
get. Yeah, one point back. Is that right? Yeah, you
It was
did.
more than 1 point. Yeah.
Tony, can you pull out your racing calculator and tell us what the trends are?
Don't listen to me. I don't know what the hell I'm doing this year. It's my rookie year. I don't want to take my socks off. It's about the only way I can figure it out. What a mess. What a joke. I'm glad we don't do fantasy for that.
So
I think
Greg,
I think I heard him talk about it on one of the other shows and just kind of stopped caring pretty quick about trying to understand it.
Greg, you have a 1 point lead over Mean Machine 38, and you lost 3 points to him this past week. So you had a 4 point lead last week, and it's down to 1 point now. You got 12th place for you. Not bad. You just at this point you just got to avoid those disaster weeks where everybody you have crashes out.
Yeah, well, that's a smart
That's
move
great.
because all
Yeah.
the main guys have been blowing tires and smacking fences.
He tried. He tried his best, but it,
Well, the drivers are constantly complaining about the shape of the track and thinking it should be further out.
Chicago is awesome. I miss Chicago.
All right, it's time to hit up some hardware. We're going to kick it off with the ARS floor plate. This new ASR floor plate is compatible with all the advanced sim racing brand chassis, and it provides a flat surface on which you can rest your feet when you're not racing. It also allows for easy entry and exit out of the sim race chassis. And I think you can put this on just about any 80/20 rig, actually, not just advanced sim racings. And I guess it just gives you an extra place to put your feet if you want. I don't know if I'd like this or not because it's actually easier for me to get in and out by putting my feet all the way down on the ground.
Yeah, I don't know if I want this or not. Agreed. I mean, it would make it harder to get in and out, I think. The other thing is, even though it would fit on my rig from a different company, the first thing that I asked them when they posted this was, can I order it without the logo? Because basically it's a big black piece of steel, really nice, but they got the logo cut into it. Um,
Is
and
that cut or is it just paint?
I don't think that's paint. I think that
Yeah.
those are holes, unless
Yeah, I
I'm
think so
seeing it
too.
wrong.
I've got to zoom in now where you can see the edges, so it is cut out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the V part of it, you can see the edge on it. It's 3-dimensional, so it's got some depth where it's cut through.
I would be interested as a customer if it didn't have the cutout.
That's how all their plates are, though, for the foot plate.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, though, uh, I got my little shelf that I built onto my rig. I got the piece of aluminum from the air conditioner guy in the town I work in, and just drilled some holes into it, and boom, I have a shelf.
Don't you normally just wait for a tornado to come through and then you get free scrap metal?
They're not
Now,
that frequent, and if you're going around looting in Arkansas, there's plenty of firearms.
yeah, that's right. And this thing is not just a piece of metal. I mean, I have the PC shelf from Advanced Sim Racing, and it's basically the same piece of metal without the cutout. I mean, I guess I could buy another PC shelf and just use the piece of metal as the floor plate to get what I want. But basically, I can't say enough about the PC shelf. The quality of the metal, it's got a nice black powder coat on it, really thick, no flex at all. Um, Highest quality you could imagine.
See, wouldn't this only be used for just resting your feet? You would just, it's kind of more of a aesthetic thing than it is for anything else. Like, my feet wouldn't be anywhere near that when I'm racing, no matter what setup I'd be using.
Or especially if you've got your seat in the right position, you put it there, and your knees are going to be colliding with the wheel.
I'm wondering if it's just kind of like when you're doing just general stuff on the PC, it's somewhere to put your feet down so you're not putting it underneath the pedals or resting it against anything sharp.
I don't know. I don't think I could get in and out without bumping the wheel with not being able to put my feet down on the floor.
This is a thick piece of metal. You could put your weight on it. You could stand on it. Not a problem at all.
It's made out of the same thing the actual foot plate's made out of.
Yes.
Not the foot plate, but the pedal plate.
Super thick. I mean, it's super sturdy. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I would want it either. I think it'd be harder to get in and out of the rig.
I kind of just like to have my feet touch the floor and just sit there, whatever you're doing. So I don't know. I mean, it could be just so that people don't have an open gap underneath there. They could hide more wires running through, maybe too, right?
Now, in the description on their website, they say can be mounted on top or the bottom of the base profiles. Now, maybe it makes more sense to have it on the bottom because then David, you could just step into it. If it was on the bottom, I mean, it wouldn't be too far off the ground, so it would be more of a you could step into it and sit down.
That would be more reasonable, yeah, to mount it actually on the.
Could this be if you had a rig, say, mounted, or for your rig, if it's mounted higher off the ground and there's something hollow it's sitting on, so you're not like putting your foot through it, anything? It's maybe just something where you can step up into. I don't know if they create platforms or something when you're, I know a lot of these racetracks can have sims or the Hall of Fame or things have sims. Like, imagine if they had them up a little bit and it was hollow underneath, you would just be stepping through, right?
That just seems like a really rare, if not non-existent situation. I don't know. Maybe
I'll
the
remember
motion rigs might have it higher.
my rig, like I pointed out today, is on 6-inch casters, so it's up off the ground, and yeah,
So I don't know. You guys are talking about maybe mounting it from underneath. I don't know if I would do that because when it's mounted on top, the weight's distributed across the 80/20 channel. Where if it's hanging down, the only thing that's holding it in place is
peanuts.
the screws into the aluminum nuts. You
True.
know, it's not using the actual metal to support. It's just using the 4 screws to hold the weight. So if you really stand up on it or something trying to get out, put some pressure on it, I'd be concerned that that might not hold up.
Yep, you're right. You're right.
Well, tell us about it on Discord if you think you can come up with a justification for this particular item. I think for
Well,
the
the
most
price is
part,
scary, $70.
eh.
It's what metal goes for.
It is free shipping. That's not too. That helps a little bit.
I mean, it is the company that I bought my stuff from.
Any sheet of metal is gonna be pretty up there if you go to any of the places where you can get custom stuff sent to you. So that the price isn't so scary. I don't personally see it as terribly functional. This next one I'm gonna kind of leave to everybody to describe, but I'll take a stab at the pronunciation because we know we don't want Mike trying it. We have the Latiele du Simu.
Should
Or
go
in
to
English,
Canadians.
we call that it's the French bumper car simulator.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Oh my God, it does look like a bumper car.
Right
That's a great
now,
way to describe this.
now you can't unsee it.
I know. Well, I was looking at it thinking it looked like a shoe.
Except
Mm.
it's
Is it a half bobsled?
This thing's really weird. The way they've got it pictured, it almost looks like it's like one of those like this might be aging David here, but the Weeble Wobble guys. It's probably just
I
the way
don't
it
know
was
what that is.
photographed.
Now, wait a minute. This thing, okay, so imagine your bumper car, but the front fiberglass, nose part, it literally only covers the right side of it. The whole left fiberglass. I don't get it.
It's a cow catcher.
Do you
But
see
wait,
that? It doesn't go around the whole thing. It's only on one side.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I
So
thought
it's for wall mounts. So like when you're mounted against a wall, it kind of looks different.
Pictures. This is how it actually looks.
it was a cutaway just so you could see what it looks like underneath. But no, you're right. It's only a right-hand side.
Yeah, like I said, half a bumper car.
What?
Because you probably can't get your feet in with it the way it is. That's probably why.
If that's the price for half of it, what is it full?
So title idea is half a bumper car.
so here it gets better. So these simulator, they do come like when you buy them, they come with the wheel and pedals and I guess a handbrake. But like the cheapest one that I see is 14,000 euros.
That's the static one. Then they have a motion one, right?
I don't see no motion one.
14,990 for the stage 2, as they call it.
Yeah, just comes with the PC.
Oh, that's just the PC. That's not motion.
Yeah, so then they got the bigger one, the LSX Static Ultimate, and that comes with a SimuCube 2 Pro steering wheel, a Heiskeveld 3-pedal setup with the gearbox and stuff, but it still looks static. Like, it's got posts on it that looks like it could be a motion, but I'm not thinking so. Like, I'm not seeing anything else that would control it. I think it's just there for aesthetics.
How did they get away adding $3,000 just for upgraded SimuCube, Heiskeveld, and sequential gearbox? I mean, $3,000 more just to add those pieces?
Which SimuCube is it? Because the Pro is probably $2,000 plus, right?
SimuCube 2.
Two Pro, it says.
Yeah, that's like the DD2. It's up at this the top end.
I guess that's okay. $3,000 would be about right then.
Okay, so this one does come with a 3070 gaming PC. You get your headphones. Like it is like a full out deal. A giant curved screen with the full HD video projector. But this is like 18,000 euros.
Does the PC come with one side to it?
Actually, it's a fish tank with only half the walls.
I can't get over the half of fiberglass front. I mean, what's the idea to it? I mean, it doesn't look good to me. I mean, unless you're like you get that side angle. I mean, when you first see the pictures,
I thought it was a diagram.
oh, maybe it's a cutaway or something you're looking at, so you can see the bars inside or whatever. But no, it's not a cutaway.
Yeah, that is the oddest thing. Like, oh well, we got halfway there. That's good enough. They'll buy it.
They realized they got somebody when they were testing it. The guy got into the cockpit, but they were realizing when they had it fully done, he couldn't get out.
So they just left half of it off.
So they cut half of it off and realized that's what we'll have to do.
Well, I think we beat that horse half to death. So let's talk on Mike. Let's go on to the V&M load cell pedals.
Yeah, we found a review on YouTube of this from OC Racing, and I watched this. And this V&M, I believe, is that company from Vietnam that are trying to break into the sim industry. And they got some pedals, and they're comparable to the Heiskenveld Sprints. Price point wise, they're a little bit cheaper. Um, and so this guy breaks them down. Um, Functionality, I mean, they're not bad. I mean, nothing bad was said. I mean, all good things just were said about it. He really liked the throttle. When it came to the software, he said it was unusable. Like he would open it and he would click something and he had to wait like 3 minutes, and then maybe he could click something again. And so he had a serious problem with the software, but apparently he could use them without the software, but I guess that was kind of a red flag. But their load cell from V&M, and 650 for the pedals, 745 with the bass. If you had the extra dampers, $900. They're black. They're pretty plain looking. They don't have the eye candy that some of the the sim coaches and all those other ones that are the high end. So you kind of get what you pay for here, but I don't know if it's a comparable to the Heiskenveld sprints or not.
Well, the
I don't
Heis,
think the Heiskenvelds have a software problem.
but these are just load cell, correct?
Hmm.
Isn't the Heiskenveld's hydraulic?
No,
No, I
they're load
believe
cell.
their load cell. Yeah,
Oh, my bad. Okay.
They're
yeah,
kind of, I guess they might be considered the highest end of the load cells.
right. High end
Or,
load cell. That's what I would call them. And they start around 1,100 euros for the three pedal set of the Heiskenvelds.
It's coming up just on Mike's screen as Tony was asking that question.
I know, isn't that great?
well, at first I thought the next topic was do it DIY, but this is actually all related to your build, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, my new cockpit build thread, the iRacers Lounge podcast edition forum thread, has been resurrected as I continue projects on the cockpit. And so I thought I would give an update on the show about where I stand on some projects. And if I was Canadian, I would say projects.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt. I love the diagram for what the buttons are in the form.
Yeah, so I had asked some people what to do with the buttons. I have all these buttons on the new wheel. how do we program them? And yeah, one clever forum poster put up a picture of the wheel and described, with text what each one should do. And there were some pretty hilarious choices there I should use.
They are funny. There needs to be button for a chocolate bar dispense chocolate bar.
His would be dangerous because it would shoot out from his cockpit and hit him right in the head.
And so I talk about the wheel. Some people were asking about it. Specifically, they were asking about the grips. Apparently, there's two kinds of grips for these kind of wheels. I mean, you have the normal, like spongy kind of, they collect, hair and dust over time and that kind of grip. This is more of a hard plastic. It does have a little bit of sponginess, but not much at all. And so it's a much different feel. I don't feel like this is going to attract dust or debris or sweat or anything like that. So some people were saying they're hard to hold on to, but man, I got my force feedback turned up. I'm hanging on to this wheel. Trust me. So, and you put your thumb through the hole in the spoke, so you know you, your hand is pretty much attached to it anyway. So I have no problem with the grips.
I want to know what some of these people are racing like if it's hard to hold on to the wheel, especially a wheel that has two firm grip part. It's not like it's a round wheel. It's you got set spots to put your hand.
Yeah, I heard it from another listener who put up on our Discord that he got his F Pro Cube Controls wheel and he was able to set up the Bluetooth and use it no problem at all. Now I'm gonna experiment tonight probably with it some more and see if I can make it work. I got it paired, but it wouldn't actually show in the software. So I'm not sure what's wrong. The wheel's not far from the motherboard. I mean, it's like probably 24 inches, but there's several things in between. The wheel and the motherboard, but it's only 2 feet away. I mean, it's not that far.
What is the surface on the grips kind of smooth, or does it have a texture to it?
It's a smooth, no, very
Okay.
smooth.
So the person who's probably having trouble holding on to it probably has absurdly sweaty hands and might need to go with a glove.
Yeah, I'm wearing gloves, the weightlifter gloves.
I was gonna say, it kind of sounds like the McLaren Fanatic rim that I have. It looks like plastic, but when you're actually grabbing onto it, it has that smooth. But it's actually something you can grab that you can hold.
If you squeeze hard, it does give a little. There's a little give to it, but not much. Now, transitioning to the fans, I've been working with Kyle Pendergraft and some others that had posted in the forum here, and thank you to those folks about what to do about these hoses. The hoses have really diminished the fan output, and so I'm trying to figure out a solution to remove the hoses. And I think we're onto something. Kyle is printing up a GoPro arm style mount that has several different elbows in it, and it'll attach to a thing that will hold the fan directly. And I'm going to hang it from the bottom of the 80/20 that hangs that my left and right monitor hang on, and it will come down below the monitor or above, and then point at my head basically. Um, and so that's what we're working on. He's printing them as we speak. I'll probably get those early next week and have an update next week about the fans. Um, I need to rewire everything. I might even have to resolder stuff, but I'm kind of waiting until I figure out the final placement of the fans before I even try to do any of that. The other thing I posted in this thread is something else I went ahead and purchased this week, and it's an addition to my Philips Hue lighting system. And I just felt like I wasn't getting enough effect. I had some of the effect, but the lights, that are in the ceiling fan are way high. I got really high ceilings in this room. And then the Philips Hue light strip that's behind the triples, it gives a good glow, down below the rig, but I'm looking for more. And so this guy called DAK, DAK, he has an Etsy store, and he has a 3D print and a mount for these light arms, and they basically are designed to attach to the fourth monitor, the 80/20 that holds your fourth monitor up above, and they come out basically above your head, two arms, which you can attach the Philips light to. And so that's what I purchased. I ordered the Hue lights were 150, um, and then this thing was like 30 to 40 with shipping for the two arms. So about 200 total for the project. And it's basically going to really light up the cockpit area, I think, quite a bit. Um, According to the guy who makes them, um, he's got them far enough out that there's no glare on the screens, and it works pretty good. So I'm going to try it.
Let's talk some NASCAR iRacing series. We started it Friday, continued the week at Friday, right? At Kansas. I had a kind of a mixed result. P21 top split. The set that I thought I had that was more stable, it would start to let go around lap 40 and get really loose. At one point, I was 23rd, 2 laps down after some green flag stops. Then a caution comes out. I take the wave by. The second caution comes out 2 laps later. I get the lucky dog. So just like that, I got both laps back. And I'm thinking, yeah, all right. But then on the next restart, there's a whole bunch of other lap cars sitting in that I have to cut through because of the wave by penalty or the lucky dog penalty. And of course, a couple of lap cars on the same lap get into each other right in front of me, and hurt the car pretty badly. And I limped it home in 21st.
Oh boy. All right. And then Tony Groves wrecked outish, you say.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing ever, and it was near the end of the race, which really sucked because I was running really good. I was top 5, 10, pretty much all race, and um, yeah, I think I was fighting for fifth. It was about 40 to go, 30 to go, somewhere in and around there, and I just overdrove and spun myself and go to try to get going again, and I can't shift. So I took tow, sat around, waited to see what was going on with that. Still wouldn't shift. Um, yeah, that was just it. Like I couldn't get the car to shift into gear, out of gear, anything. Just stopped, and I tried remapping, tried doing everything. Just nope, didn't want to work.
I've had weird stuff like that too. Where the car I go pit, the car would turn off, and I can't get the car restarted. The only way I eventually got it restarted was to exit the car and go back into it, and then it started right up.
Yeah, I would have had to just shut it right down and then rejoin the race. But by that point in time, I just don't think it would have been worth the effort. So I just called it.
I wonder what's causing these weird things with controlling controllers but I don't know if it's my button box. Is it what's going on? I don't know.
Windows.
It's your shifter. I mean, what are you using to shift that quit working?
Just the paddles on my steering wheel. But I even tried to remap them to a totally different button, and I couldn't get anything to work.
It sounds like it just had a huge glitch and it got stuck where it's not letting you do anything.
That's kind of what I chalked it up to, like a mechanical failure. It just happens.
Idle idea, mechanical failure. Greg, you were wrecked out.
I don't remember much from this race. I think I just, I think I just got one. I got a little damage early, and I couldn't get back from it. And by the time I was able to go through the field again, I think starting in the back, by the time I was going through the field, I just got caught up in a big wreck, and I quit out early. I can't remember what happened totally, but I think I quit out early.
Okay, so let's move on to Sunday Open. David P3.
Yeah, I had a great run. I finished just in front of Adam. He ran the front part of the race with me, then caught a tiny bit of damage. I think it just hurt his long run a little, and he made an adjustment that also didn't pay off for him. But it was also top split, and it was the best non-top or non-plate top split race I've had so far. Might have even had a shot at the win if we'd had a 60 lap run instead of a 30 lap run at the end. Those guys were starting to come back to me.
That is a heck of a run. Both you and Adam to finish third and fourth in top split, man. But I woke up Sunday morning and I saw that. I was like, wow, that's impressive. But Greg, you one-upped it. Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah, I'm not sure what split I was in. I was probably at least one or two down from that. But no, I had a last lap pass. Well, it was a final restart pass, and I just got a really good restart starting P2, and was able to pass into one and just able to hold it off. I didn't think I was going to be able to, but it was enough short run time where they couldn't get back to me very quickly. So I able to pull it out. I was in the top five for majority of the race. It just playing the patient game after I wrecked on Friday, and it paid off. And hearing how, I mean, me, David, and Adam, we were communicating, trying to figure out what to do when we had problems or adjustments we needed to figure out, and it was good just communicating with them in the morning. And I'm just glad we all had good finishes on Sunday morning.
Yeah, I did go check. It was second split. I think there was like 7 splits that day. And something we definitely found, especially me and Adam, who seemed to like more similar sets. It's interesting. Me and Greg cannot run the same sets. It doesn't happen. But I found through some open testing that the end race adjustment that I usually like to make with the left rear tire just wasn't working and was actually making it even more uncontrollable. So we went a different way with even the end race adjustment, and it made the car a lot better in the long run. But even I remember back in the day when Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon in the same garage could not run the same sets. They just liked completely different feels. So even if you go out and buy your sets, you have to put in a little work yourself and find out what's going to work best for you.
Practice.
Greg, you got win now at Kansas this year. Any others?
Was it Cali? I think I won no, Cali or Vegas, one of the two.
Okay, so stack them up, man.
We got road courses coming.
Sunday fixed. I wrecked out. I don't remember what happened. It's one of those things when you wreck out early, you just kind of tune it out. Yeah, it was like that. It's been a tough week for me at Kansas, and I lost a ton of rating.
Wasn't that the highlight pack that you had sent late Sunday night? There was like 3 or 4 videos.
Oh, that's right. I sent like 3 videos in a row of what happened to me in various stages of the race. That's correct. Um, but yeah, I didn't finish. That's for sure. But who did finish was Tyler Williamson. He got a P9. He said was not a Sunday fun day after a grueling demo derby at Kansas. 16 cautions total in my split. Managed to only get 5X and showed some late race speed. Was not thrilled with this car on the track, but I'll take a top 10 any day.
Yeah, that was a rough thing about Kansas. Like, I know my race. I don't think we got any more than 15 laps green. That was a rough one.
Well, you'd either run the top or the bottom, and your set had to be one or the other. And then if you tried the other way, usually you were loose, like wrecking loose.
You
All right, let's
kind of
transition.
you're talking about, we're still talking Kansas, right? Yeah, that was what was happened. The set we ran first was set for high line, and if you try to take it down low, it was awful. And then I had to be really careful if I had to go around somebody on the high side, like really careful. So we're
Okay.
talking Indy next, right?
Indy 500, as I mentioned, it was lap 21. I got a push, went to the wall, knocked off the right front. Now, I was shocked that they actually repaired it. I had no idea that this was repairable. I mean, I knocked off the whole right front suspension, everything. But I went in for repairs. It didn't take long. I was 3 laps down when they put me back out.
Now,
Uh,
Mike, I was going to say, iRacing logic here. We touched the wall with the next gen car, and it's game over for your race. You destroy the right front of the car, and they can rebuild the whole right front suspension in a quick time on pit road. It doesn't make any sense, the damage model.
no, it didn't, and the car was still fast after that, which it I don't know if it should have been, but then I had some confusion about if I could get a lap back or not if I stayed out and the leaders pitted, like a waiver round, like NASCAR style. And somebody in the chat said I couldn't. No, they don't have waiver rounds. So I pitted, and then I figured out that other guys stayed out and got a waiver round. There actually was waiver rounds, and I was like pissed that I didn't figure that out, and I actually could have got a lap back because I was 3 laps down. I was trying to get them back to try to get back in the race, but anyway, it didn't matter because I hit the wall again at some point, and then it was undrivable, but there was no damage to fix. So yeah, I mean that's the other thing, Greg, is like I hit the wall again, but no damage. But at that point, undrivable. I mean, I would just spin out. All right, Tony Rochette wrecked out. He didn't leave any notes. Kyle Pendergraph, P6, started P3, dropped back to avoid the aggressive drivers around lap 35, got caught up in someone else's wreck and had to tow. Needed less than 4 minutes of repair and decided to fix it. Came back out 3 laps down and way down in the standings. Worked my way back up through the field as drivers started to leave the race and eventually got himself up to P6. That's amazing. I mean, in his situation, he was also 3 laps down, but it worked for him to, stick it out, and he ended up with a nice top 10. Well done. Let's move on. I ran some other racing. Hosted Chris McGuire. He's been putting up races during the week, guys, not just the weekends. I don't know if he's off work or what, but it's a good group to run with. I have a lot of fun with these guys. We ran Michigan Supercars. I wrecked out on the first one, the second race, P4. Then it was 87 cars at Talladega. Started 25th, finished P6. This is a race without caution, guys. I was killing it. Then we ran Gen 5 cars at Talladega. P2. Almost won that one.
Is the Gen 5 the COT?
Is awesome.
Is that the COT, Mike? The Gen 5?
Yeah, that's without the plate. So you down the backstretch, you can get it up to 250 in the draft. 250 mile an hour. So then I decided with the off week this week, with NIS off, I decided to restart my road career with my new wheel. So I finished P8 in the Formula V at Lime Rock. Then second race, I got my first official win with the new wheel. Same Formula V at Lime Rock. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Then I ran it 2 more times. Started P10, finished P3. Started P10, finished P4. So I had a second, a first, a third, and a fourth. And so I'm thinking I don't need to start in the Formula V. I probably need to move up a level. So the question is, do I buy the Skippy, the Skip Barber, or do I go with the IR04? And, it looked to me like the Skippy was more popular as far as how many drivers were in races compared to the IR04. But I think I would probably like the IR04 better, but I don't know. I haven't decided which one. I'll probably decide tonight and pick one of them and start running those.
Well, if you remember Ann with Snell Racing, she went to the skippies after the rookies for quite a while. Now she's doing a lot of GT racing.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
you made that's a good point, Mike. If you're looking for better populated races and bigger splits, the skippies are the way to go. But there's a lot of guys who just run skippies and they're very talented, and that's just what they do. So on the minus side is there's some really top talent in that in that series.
Some of
yeah,
them
we'll
are
probably
so
do
good
the
they might
skippies.
win a ride in a real one, right?
Yeah, that series starts next week, and I'm going to try to find out how the guy who won that Skip Barber series how he does in the real life series. I'm going to track that starting next weekend.
I'm loving the new wheel running road. Um, it's everything I hoped it would be. So I really no complaints.
It's a neat change of pace from oval all the time. This week I've just been mostly running road. I did a couple of m- with Monzas and um where are they? Amola as well.
Some other host that I ran under a different host was Kia's at Michigan and Gen 5 at Monza. That was a blast. Gen 5 at Monza, we couldn't even get to the start finish line before we piled up. All right, let's talk league racing, fast track. David, P5.
Yeah, and it should have been a podium, if not better. For the most part, the race was a shit show. Had a lot of cautions. We can definitely tell you the admin was beyond irritated. And it was just the car. A lot of guys, especially those who don't run the official races, didn't know how easy this car could get out of shape if you weren't running the perfect line, and that was showing up a lot. And then just also a lot of people putting themselves in situations they shouldn't. Um, but I survived all of the carnage and then ended up with the P5 instead of higher because a couple of drivers who failed to save enough fuel didn't know how to get out of the way and stayed like literally two wide right in the middle of the racing line. And I just ran into one of them because there was nowhere else to go in that amount of time, not knowing how slow they were.
So they're side by side coming to the checker to
Going
see
50
who can
miles an
run
hour
out
slow.
first.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I ran right into him. And words were exchanged because I exchanged slightly just I exchanged civil complaint, which was responded with an F bomb, which got an F bomb in return. So there it is.
All right, now teammate Joe Owen is back, man. He came out of retirement and ran with us. He got wrecked out. Now, David, you had a move where you were on the apron on the front, came back up. You had plenty of room to come up. You made it three wide, and there was plenty of room for you. But the guy in the middle, I don't know if he didn't see you or what, but when he did, he panicked and he veered to the right and wrecked the guy out on the outside of him, and both of them got wrecked. And Joe got caught up in that one.
Yeah, and I don't know if the guy was just not very good at watching his mirrors and listening to his spotter or not, because he came across my nose a lap before, uh, actually the very corner before, and I had to back out to keep from turning him. So I was like, all right, I set up just the simple beat him off of turn three. I had to run plenty fast off of turn three exit, was inside him well before the start finish line. And that's a standard line at Kansas. You run that apron there a lot, especially if you're setting up a pass. Me and all the other guys have been doing it all week. So I don't know if this guy just didn't have the experience to see that coming. But yeah, he freaked out and hit me and took quite a few other people out.
Okay, Greg, I had you down as wrecked out, but you said nope, P9.
No, I was on a different strategy than because David went on a fuel strategy there and saved fuel, and I decided to do the opposite and split the last segment to try and gain some track position because I didn't. It was iffy if they were going to meet because of tires. I was on a different strategy completely where I couldn't even get to the point where I would make fuel. Um, but it was a hard fought P9, but I I struggle with this league. I mean, I think David said this many times, and the more he says it, I start more believing it. I got in the league to race with more of our teammates. That's the reason to race with the guys. I like the league. I mean, it's down to a couple of us that show up to go to this league and race. But I'm kind of frustrated with hearing the coaching and the telling us what to do. If I listen to take it easy and let it sort itself out then I would have gotten wrecked. You can take it easy, but you can't just at Kansas, you can't just back off. You just get run over. I mean, I was trying to stay the more positions I made up, the better I felt about not getting into anything. Yes, I put myself in some compromising positions, but I felt if I didn't put it that way, I was going to be run over because of this, and then it's more frustrating in the other place. I just don't think the coaching is necessary. Yes, if I make a bad mood and I wreck somebody, okay, you can talk to me after the race, but I don't think the in race coaching and whining and complaining about what's going on is very needed.
Yeah, I mean that needs to be said. I mean, we all know how to drive, or we wouldn't be there, and so it is a little frustrating.
Well, it's also not us that are causing these problems. It's kind of some of the other guys. And I run enough A opens, you know, that and in IS races, we make a joke of it about how much more time I spend on there, but I spend enough time in traffic that I feel comfortable making that move that I made. And this guy, that's probably the first time he saw it. That may be the first time he ran a race at that oval that week. I'm just guessing. Um, but it's not just practice in the in a practice server. You really just don't. You can't build that kind of skill up to run those kind of side by side laps unless you do it a lot.
Well, by Monday, a lot of us have had 300 to 500 laps, or more
In
on the track,
in race conditions, not practice. Yeah.
right? In race condition.
I want to see David's total at the 600 week.
Let's talk my race. I wrecked out. I actually got a few dings in the first wreck from an ARCA breaker. I actually had it slowed and missed, but then somebody got in to me from behind. Car was okay, but then later it was another guy who just totally lost it on his own. I had nowhere to go and literally plowed in and T-boned the guy. It was 8 minutes required, so I was done. But this guy apologized. David, you said he mentioned it in the chat. I missed it. He did throw up a sorry. So if you recall, this is the third week in a row at this league I've been wrecked out. And the last 2 weeks I didn't get an apology. This week I did, apparently. I didn't hear it, though.
This is 5 people were talking at the same time.
Okay, and then let's talk the Get Her Done GT3 series. Greg, you said ran out of talent.
Yeah, we were racing Road Atlanta as the final race of the 12-week season, and I just basically I'm not gonna lie, I'm a huge hockey fan, and I had one eye on a hockey game that was going on, and one eye on the racetrack, and my talent for the racetrack part went out the door. So I didn't take anybody with me. I kind of just did my own wreck by myself. Finish off the week. It was a great season. I'm glad I joined this league. I wish we had more cars to race in this league. I really like the idea that each season they're switching back and forth. So this season was all North American tracks, and next season, the next 12-week season is all European tracks. So it's going to be very it's going to be different. It's not like we're doing the same thing the next 12 weeks for the next one. So we have this week off, and then we do another 12-week series in the GT3s, and I have a feeling I'm going to stay in my Lambo because the more European tracks, I feel like it might come in more handy being in the Lambo.
So you didn't run out of racing talent. You ran out of multitasking talent.
That's multitasking talent, and then the team I cheer for ran out a lot of talent for that whole week.
Ran out of hockey talent.
I have to be really careful sometimes when I'm running one of the road races midday, and you'll suddenly just start racking up chat messages, and I keep hearing it ding, 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 and I want to reach up to the top monitor and start reading the messages while I'm down a straightaway. And even just on a straightaway, the car can drift, and suddenly you're in the grass and dead.
Okay, so if you want to run with Greg on Thursday nights in the GT3s, you contact Peter Kopko and you get signed up for the Get Her Done.
Great set of guys to race with too. Like they nothing but class acts on the track. Um, they have a great system to make sure that you're accountable for your actions, and we have always have fun races and fair races. So
Okay. Kyle has some notes here for us to read about from what he's doing. He said tonight is Martinsville, and it's the third to last race of the playoffs in season 4 for the iRacing iRock Challenge Series season 4. Um, all races can be are found live on Thursday nights on PTM TV on Facebook and posted the next day to YouTube. They have a season 5 announcement. They're taking driver applications for season 5. It's going to be the B car on a fixed setup and is the IROC theme paint schemes. Season 5 has some major changes and a much bigger purse prize, reaching the 4-digit amount. Wow. And is also season 5 will have 4 Dash for Cash nights that will only pay cash but also pay regular season points. If you're interested, contact Kyle Pendergraft at Loud Pedal TV on Twitter. All right, let's jump to final thoughts. Brian McCubbin.
Yeah. So if you guys aren't watching the stream, I'm actually in a hotel in Richmond, Virginia right now. So I've been out for a couple of days on the road, and it's kind of winding up some of the craziness that I'm going through. My kid's in baseball now, so I mean I've gone over this a couple of times already. It's just been too crazy for me to really spend a lot of time in the rig. So it's coming up. I'll be back soon. I'm hoping to get back into the OBRL ARCA races when they start their new season in 2 weeks. So that's my goal, to be back officially on the service, and I think all the other things will fall in place after that. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I'll be back soon.
I think he needs to take the internet with him from that hotel.
You got good internet there, right? No
Yeah,
hotspot.
finally, right? Yeah.
Okay, David Hall, our drummer. Final thoughts.
Well, since you've made reference to that twice, I'll talk a little bit about outside stuff. I'm going to end up missing Nashville now this year because I booked a musical, and chance to play definitely it's going to override going to watch a race. So I'll be doing that. It'll be good to see a lot of my friends that are on the theater side as well. But y'all mentioned I posted a video. There's a group, a cover band that I really have loved listening to for the last few years. Their name is First to 11. And this is the second time now they are doing a video where you can do a play along, and they use footage from it and add it to their video. They already have one on their channel, and I'm in that one as well. If you go to their channel, and it was a Paramore song, "Ain't It Fun." I'm in that one, and I should be in this one too. And I did a couple of takes this time because I had their bassist, who's kind of the older guy and the leader. He sent me the MIDI file so that I could make sure and pay close attention to where all the crash cymbals were, everything. So I did a clean take, and then I did a take where I just kind of jammed and improvised around it, and that's the one I posted on my YouTube channel and showed to the guys. It was pretty fun. I enjoyed just that's what I do is music.
Well, I think I forget that you're a band director, so you actually can play every instrument pretty much. And I know you're a woodwind guy, and I had never realized that you actually played the drums, but you actually played the drums very well. I was impressed.
Thanks. Yeah, I always wanted to play drums all the way from 7th grade, and even though I got put on clarinet and had a lot of success with that, I still made it onto the drum line by the time I was in college. and made some good friends who taught me a lot of drumming. And you just, yeah, I get paid to play clarinet and sax, and I've gotten paid a couple times for drums. A lot of the other instruments you just learn on a junior high level, right? My trumpet players can play way better than me, but um, if I can get a clarinet player to play better than me, that will be an amazing day. And I don't know if I'm that good of a teacher.
All right, Greg Hectus, final thoughts.
I'm looking forward to the 500 this weekend. It's going to be a good showing to run that. Bobby Jonas has created me a nice paint job for it, so I will have that out for. I think I'm going to do one. I might just actually. I probably will do tomorrow night's race. But yeah, I'm excited for it and getting some other racing done. I know next week's week 13, and we got the 400 to come up. The 600 coming up. So that's gonna be a long week of racing between this weekend and next weekend.
Boy, it sure is. I'm ready for it. All right, Tony Groves, final thoughts.
Well, yeah, Greg just kind of stole my thunder. I was going to be like, who's ready for that 600?
Sally.
No, it's all good. I don't do the 500 because, well, I think I did 5 laps last year and that sucked, so I don't want to do that again. But the 600, that's fun. That's a lot of fun. Man, that's a crazy ass long race. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Looking forward to 600. I ain't doing nothing this weekend. Probably won't do any racing. I'll be up at the trailer, kicking back, as long as I don't get rained out. Yeah, that's what I got going on.
All right. My final thoughts, Indy 500, man, I need like on repeat a spotter saying, keep it out of the wall, keep it out of the wall, keep it out of the wall. Because that's what that race is all about. Is if you can keep it out of the wall, you're going to end up with a top 10. I mean, because of attrition. And so I just got to get through the race without trying to be fast or fancy and just keep it off the wall. So um, we're going to try that. I'm looking forward to the Skip Barber car. I don't know why I've never bought it. I guess it's because I never thought I had the equipment to do it right. Do it right. Now I do have the right equipment, so we're gonna try it. I was kind of confident and cocky after finishing, first, second, third, fourth, in the Formula V. Um, Man, I do have some chops, even though I'm racing with all these rookies. It felt good to at least be up front and contending, and I love that. So, especially on the roadside. So we'll see how it goes as I move up the ranks. Don't want to do it too quickly. Um, I thought, do I want to jump right into GT3s and all that? I decided no. I'm going to stay with the open wheel at least for now. And yeah, looking forward to my projects showing up, my lighting project, my fans, and getting that situated. So, hey, with that, we'll see you on the track later.